All right, Jarek, I've given you access to the stage. Perfect. Okay, and we're gonna do a little bit of post-production just to trim the beginning and end here. So don't need to worry too much about the setup. But I'm just gonna get us started. My name is Philip Jun with Filmocracy, and I am not the actual original host of this Q&A today. We had some scheduling things and they asked me to jump in. So forgive me in advance. I'm going to do my best to help get Piano de Zaskar and Jarek's message out to you guys and for you all. Welcome to Filmocracy Fest, everybody. So much fun. Thanks for great to have you here and to our Q&A session with Piano de Zaskar. So we're happy to have the producer Jarek Kotomsky join us today to share some of his insights on making the film. And Jarek, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present your amazing film with our audiences and for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's jump right in here. Piano de Zaskar was directed by Mikhail Sulima and produced by Jarek Kotomsky with us today. Firstly, welcome again. Can you tell us what kind of got this all started? What was your reason for telling this story? Where did this come from? It's a very unique story. So, how did that come about?
It is quite a unique story indeed. It started with really me walking into a piano workshop. I decided I wanted to buy a piano one day, and I wanted to buy an antique piano. And I started searching online, and I found a beautiful 100-year-old piano with candle holders. And I called up the number which advertised it, and this old gentleman told me that he has it in his workshop, and I should come over and see it. And he was in Camden Town in London, in the famous Camden Market. And I went there one evening, and when I walked in to the piano workshop, I immediately realized this is a very special place. It was all plastered with musical notations. There was lots of pianos in various states of disrepair, and this eccentric old gentleman comes out and asked me, who am I? And I said, I came to see the piano with candelabras. We spoke on the phone just yesterday. And he scratched his head and said, oh, I sold it 2 weeks ago. And then proceeded to show me different pianos that he had. And immediately I was very intrigued by him. And we ended up speaking for 3 hours that evening. And we struck a cordial note together, and he told me eventually that he had this idea. He wanted to take a piano to the Himalayas as a gift to a local school. And at the time I was working on developing an idea for another documentary, which was supposed to be based in Iran. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. This man is incredible. This story is incredible. I'd like to try to make it into a film. And that's kind of how it all started.
That is so amazing to hear. On the one hand, we see lots of filmmakers, especially in the entertainment industry right now, kind of sitting around a table and brainstorming, like, what is the film that we should make? Let's try to use data to figure this out. What's the hot topic or buzzword that we can create a film? And then here you are on the flip side with this kind of serendipitous story and moment that just needed to be told. That is so amazing, and really heart and soul of film.
That's really how it felt, and serendipity is the keyword actually in this whole undertaking, because there have been very many lucky coincidences while we were working on the film, and during our trip as well, which allowed it to actually be a successful trip and a successful film in the end, because many things could have gone wrong on the way. And we pretty much walked into this story as well, as you say. So I consider myself quite lucky in that sense.
There's lots of films out there, more and more every day. And still, it blows my mind that we can still have this kind of unique story that still exists, amidst the ocean of content out there. That is wonderful. It is wonderful. So you actually met this gentleman yourself. It wasn't an introduction. It's just kind of something that fell in your lap as you went out to do something else.
Yeah.
So I guess you're a musician as well in other parts of your life, and so filmmaking is not the only thing, obviously, that you do. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your other parts of your life? You know, things that you are kind of doing, and
Sure. I'm not a musician. I studied photography, and at the time when I started working on the film, I was a professional photographer, and I was gradually thinking about making a documentary film, like I mentioned, and this sort of fell into my lap. And so, yeah, this is my background. As for myself, I'm half Polish, half Russian, but I moved to London at the age of 21, about 15 years ago. And I studied photography at the University of the Arts London. And Piano to Zaskar really is the first documentary film that I've produced. And Michał Sulima, the director, he actually moved to London with me. We were both the same age. We both studied photography. And when he was graduating on his last year, he sort of switched to film. So he graduated with a short film. And as soon as I met Desmond, after that first evening, first thing I did was I went to Michał and I told him, look, there's this crazy, fascinating man, and he wants to make a film about, a piano in the Himalayas that he wants to take there. And do you want to do it with me? And that's sort of how it all started. So we both had no prior experience of working on feature films. Michał did 1 or 2 shorts before that. And I produced a couple of advertorial short films. So yeah, that's our background. This film was really a film school to us. We were learning as we were going along.
of course, this is actually as much for the up and coming filmmakers to kind of get to know how this came about, as much as it is for everybody else to get to know you. Whether they're viewing the film or they work at studios, and so that kind of provenance of how this all came about, the story of the film's creation, is equally important to the film itself. So when you were at that piano shop and you met this gentleman, that story kind of developed between you two. But how did you actually get into that conversation with him, where it actually became something where the film project kind of came to life? How did that conversation go with that gentleman? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you just went in there and said, hey, I want to make your film about this,
No, it's actually when after our first conversation that evening, where we both, I don't know, there was some connection between us, and I was quite intrigued by him, and he was actually curious after he mentioned that he wants to do this project and that maybe we can make a film out of it. He was curious if we're actually capable of that. So I remember that he asked us to film a short comedy piece that he wrote, and this is something we did, together with him in Camden Market at some point, and had lots of fun, and he was very pleased with the result. And so after that, we started thinking more seriously about developing the idea for the documentary. And at some point, a friend of mine who worked for video department of the Telegraph, a leading British newspaper, when I told her about the idea, she communicated to the head of the video department at the Telegraph, and they became really interested in sponsoring it for us. And so this is when this surreal, crazy idea became a little bit more tangible, because suddenly we had backing from a respectable newspaper. However, after a few weeks, they offered us a contract which was just very unattractive, because they just wanted to make it into a 15-minute sort of commercial for their sponsors. And we decided that at this stage we had so much belief in the project, we wanted to do it independently. And so for a few months leading up to our trip to the Himalayas, we would meet with Desmond regularly in his workshop and discuss how we want to approach making this film, how we sort of envisage this documentary to be. And he agreed with everything. And then first day when we landed in the Himalayas, everything we discussed went out of the window because, because the reality of making a film there in those conditions, and also, you know, with the super complicated logistics of taking a piano up a mountain, it just meant that we had to really adapt and completely change our concept of how we imagined the film, which turned out to be a good thing in the end. But that was kind of the process, you know. We were quite amazed that we actually ended up even going to the Himalayas, because for a long time when we were preparing for this project, we weren't even sure if it was going to happen or not. So yeah, I hope that answers your question somewhat.
Yeah, it actually leads me into my next question. This film depicts such a beautiful and epic journey, so unique. Can you tell us a behind the scenes moment, maybe from the film, that audiences might not be aware of? You know, obviously it's so pretty on the front side, but maybe not so glamorous on the back.
Yeah, that's often the case. I mean, one funny anecdote. When we arrived in Leh, which is the capital of Ladakh, and that's an altitude of about 3,000 meters above sea, we had to take the piano apart, which took us around 4 or 5 days before we could start the journey actually towards our destination and start the hike. And at that altitude, it very quickly became clear that Desmond had some breathing problems, and he developed a very bad cough. And he would get so sick that one day, when you know, we were working on taking the piano apart, he pulled me to the side and he told me matter-of-factly that he doesn't think he's going to survive this trip, and he ordered some wood from town and he's building a coffin to transport his body back to the UK.
What?
And he told me, just looking me in the eyes, he said, yes, but you know, if I die, this is what I want you to do. I want you to continue with the piano, to link shed, and also I've got this health insurance which you know, you can cash in to finish the film. And I sort of stopped him there and I said, Desmond, you cannot die right now. If you die, this is it. It's over. No one's going to continue after you die, you know. So you need to do something to stay alive. And we eventually found some cough medicine for him, and he got a little bit better. But this was just the beginning of the actual trip, you know, and we already had some very, very challenging moments. So we've edited all those fits of cough out of the film eventually, because we didn't want to create like another sort of a forced drama in the film. And but that's something that, yes, the viewers are probably not aware of. It costed Desmond quite a lot, that first trip, definitely.
That's just such a, I mean, it's a real story, obviously, but from hearing it just sounds so comical. The kind of impact. You have this story that seems so not serious. Like, why does that piano need to be, why does it even have to be a piano? And why does it have to be 100 years old? And this man is willing to take this so seriously. He's willing to die for this.
Yeah.
It just sounds so funny to hear. But in that moment, of course, it's, you know, it's just work. It's business. It's a mission for him. And he's doing okay now. What's the story there?
Desmond, no, Desmond unfortunately passed away at the end of 2018, actually. Yes. He passed away after his last trip to the Himalayas. He went there for 5 years consecutively. So after our first adventure, he returned there a bunch of times every year to tune the piano and just continue teaching the children. And I think after the last trip, he got really sick because it took some toll on his health. He was already 69 at the time, and he sadly passed away.
Wow, that's a really beautiful. Just the idea of this man is a very romantic thought.
He was a very special man, yeah, in many ways.
Oh, amazing. So while making this film, is there something that maybe you learned perhaps about yourself, or the people that you were with or around that made a big impact on you, that you didn't really expect or were surprised by?
Definitely, yeah. This trip had a huge impact on all of us. The core crew, the core film crew was 3 people. It was myself, Michal, the director, and our soundman Simon. And then there was the core crew of Desmond, which was him and his 2 apprentices. And meeting the lovely people that we've come across in Ladakh left a huge impact on us, because everywhere we went, we were met with amazing warmth and hospitality, and just this sort of simplicity of life, combined with just the simple joy that we experienced there, was really quite inspiring. So the little village where we brought the piano, Lingshed, it's at that time it was one of the most isolated settlements in the world. And it's nestled in a little valley, cut off from the outside world for 6 months in a year, when the passes freeze in the winter. And so people who live there, they experience a lot of hardship, and children as well. But despite of that, they were some of the most cheerful and happy and warm and hospitable people we've ever met. And we felt sort of silly coming there, with all our worries and bills to pay and obligations in this, busy, crazy Western world, coming to their world and being received the way we were, and experiencing the beauty of that life that they were living. That was something that left a deep impression on us. And for example, it led Anna, one of the main protagonists, to start studying environmental science after this adventure, because she was very interested about the environmental issues that people experience there, the sort of the gradual climate change, for example, which affects the melting of the glaciers, which means they get more or less water, which means they can or cannot grow crops in their fields and things like that. And she became very passionate about it. And she moved to Dharamsala, studied environmental science there, eventually ended up in Wales, where she's now. And now she wants to bring this environmental awareness project to Ladakh. So that was quite a transformational experience, and not just for her, but also for Desmond, myself, and Miha. We returned there 3 more times as well to continue working with the people and also try to help them, try to help the children a little bit beyond just bringing a piano there. And we were all very much impressed by what we experienced there. And one underlying theme in the film is this theme of the road, which at the time was being built all the way to the village of Lingshed. So we had to trek for 2 days to actually get to the village. At the time, there was no roads leading to it, but the government of India has been working on a project called the Trans-Himalayan Highway since 1975, with the goal of connecting many of these inaccessible villages. And what we saw along the way, wherever the road connected to some village or town, it transformed it, and the place would gradually lose its sort of sense of identity. You would just see these great buildings erected, and people suddenly had television, and there were shops, and you saw some big brands advertised in those shops, and this beautiful traditional way of life would gradually get diluted. So we, coming from the West, experiencing this traditional way of life in Lingshed, were very moved by it and quite worried about what impact the road would have when it reaches Lingshed. But from their point of view, it was the most welcome development, because it would mean that they would get all the basic amenities. It wouldn't take 2 days to get to hospital anymore, and so on and so forth. So this also had an impact on us, because we realized how quickly that part of the world is being transformed as well, and how unstoppable is the progress of modernization, and almost inevitable that people are just losing their traditional values and cultural heritage because of globalization. So that also left a deep impression on us.
do you think that obviously it's not something we can really stop, but uh, should it stay the way that it was for this whole time? Are
Yeah.
they isn't it better for them to experience some of those modernizations?
Exactly. That's a question. Very good question. That's a question that Desmond asks in the film as well. And you see, coming there with our idealistic viewpoint from our sort of cushy houses somewhere, in the Western Hemisphere, you experience this place and you think, it's so beautiful that they have this traditional way of life. I wish it could stay like this forever, but that's very naive because, of course, they also want to experience the comforts of life that we are experiencing there, and they want this modern life to also become part of their life. And so I think it's unstoppable, but what's important is to bring awareness of the dangers that come with it. For example, in a community which is based on subsistence farming, like people in Lingshed, which was our destination, people don't really know much about money, the value of money. What you grow is what you're going to eat. You get some help from government, in the shape of rice and just other basic food staples to survive the winter. But there's no money really, so people still help each other, and people still are incredibly hospitable without hoping for any financial rewards. As soon as money and commerce reaches that place, if there's no education that would come with it and prepare people for it, they can lose themselves in. And this is what large parts of Ladakh have also experienced, And there's huge plastic pollution, for example, because people don't even understand that plastic is toxic and that it takes hundreds of years to decompose, and that if you dump plastic bottles in a water stream from which your animals drink, that they will get poisoned and die as well, which is something that has been happening in that area too. So I think progress is unstoppable, but people need to be aware of the dangers that come with it too. And that was, in a way, our conclusion, and that was also partly the reason why Anna became such a staunch environmental scientist and why she decided to return to Ladakh also and do her due. And just to add, Desmond also tried to help in his own way. He returned a year after our original expedition with a plan to help rid Ladakh of plastic. And he devised a plastic recycling scheme where he tried to show people how they can build houses from plastic, how they can make robes from plastic. So I think everyone took it quite seriously in a sense and realized the danger. This beautiful culture and this beautiful region is threatened with if this progress just sort of steamrolls over it in a sense, and people get caught up in it without the necessary awareness.
Our festival is largely an impact festival. We're very much about films that can say something good, do something, help people take action, move them. And it has to be in a way that's actually going to make a difference or even happen at all. So while you were there, did you see any groups that you thought, okay, they're actually helping? There's organizations that maybe you can plug who will actually make an impact there. Your friend, Anna, maybe, I don't know if she's actively working in that area as well, but did you see anything? Or, if people out there want to kind of dig into this a little bit more and see how they might get involved, do you have any recommendations for them?
One thing that Anna is working on now is a charitable foundation named after Desmond. His name was Desmond O'Keeffe, but he was widely known as Desmond Gentle. And in his last will, he sort of asked for a charity organization to be created, which would continue helping disadvantaged children through music education. And so Anna has set up, or is in the process of setting up, a charity called the Gentle Trust. This is definitely something that people can look into, and this will continue Desmond's legacy and try to help disadvantaged children through music education, like I said, also through some fundraising. There are a few environmental projects going on in Ladakh, so people also can look into that. There was even a local scientist who developed a way of dealing with drought and with climate change, which meant that there was less glacier, which would mean less water for the fields in the summer. And he developed artificial ice to cover the mountain slopes, which was quite a remarkable project. As for Linkshed itself, we did a project there which can still be found, I think, on Kickstarter. It's been funded already 2 years ago. It's called Children of Zaskar, and it was a project about just helping children in the valley and helping their school as well, materially by providing certain supplies and staples. But what I would be really interested to hear is whether there are any people interested in returning to Linkshed and continuing to teach children to play the piano. Because since Desmond's departure from this world, we haven't been able to return there. The piano is still there, and someone needs to continue to teach the children so that the piano doesn't fall in disrepair. It needs some tuning, it needs some maintenance. And if anybody wants to reach out to us after this, we would welcome that.
Wow, that's actually very sad to think about. This, piano that's being neglected, and just kind of time is taking its toll on it, and these children they're just watching this piano just get ignored, covered with dust. Which was actually my next question. Now that Desmond is gone, no longer with us, is anybody taking his place? What's going on to continue this? And you're saying there's not much, right? You're looking for somebody who can help. Is there anything that's happening?
Well, we weren't able to return there this year. Of course, we were planning to mount an expedition there, and we had a few people who were music teachers and piano tuners who wanted to join us, but obviously the pandemic made it impossible. So I know that they're taking good care of the piano, but because the winters there are very harsh, this always takes a toll on the instrument, so it needs to be maintained regularly. And so we're planning to return to Linkshed next year. There's already a few people who signed up for joining us who are music teachers and piano tuners as well. And because, it's a very special piano in a sense. It's the highest piano in the world. I think it's still the highest piano in the world. It's a stunning, beautiful location. The children there are incredibly curious, and they love the music that, as they call it, the box that sings makes. And so what we want to do is just make sure that the piano will not fall into a state of disrepair, as you said, and that children can really continue learning to play it. We did over the years try to teach some of the teachers also how to play piano, because then they can do it with the children. But obviously this takes time, and also their own hearing is not attuned to our Western musical scale. So it takes some time for them to get used to that in terms of just sort of playing the piano alone. So we want to make sure that over throughout the coming years, there will be a definite regular sort of stream of people going there and just continuing the good work. Fingers crossed.
Wow. I mean, it's a sad thought that just came to mind, but if you turn that piano in that beautiful setting into a selfie photo spot, the tourism might just pick up just for that fact alone, right?
That's not going to happen. I really hope that won't be the case.
Okay, so let's dive into beautiful stories, amazing. Thank you for sharing that all with us. Let's dive into just a couple of questions from the audience and see if we can get some more information about the film itself. What are the plans for, in terms of distribution? When will the film, do you have any plans for when it would be released, or is it on any sort of circuits? Where can we watch it in the future or keep in touch with this film specifically? Or are you still working on that?
Well, one place you'll be able to watch it at is the Banff World Tour. So Banff Mountain Film Festival is the largest film festival, mountain film festival in the world. And we won the grand prize at the festival at the end of last year, which we were very chuffed about. And now the film, a quarter version of the film, 52-minute version of the film, will be part of Banff World Tour, which will go, which will be traveling across 40 different countries, including the United States, throughout 2021. So that's one way to see the film. And at the moment, we're also talking to a few film sales agents in the United States, because we want to find distributors in Canada and in the US for Piano to Zaskars. So in 2021, you will definitely be able to see the film one way or another, wherever you are, really, because we're also now looking into worldwide distribution too.
Are you already started on Piano 2?
No. No, actually, there's another project which I'm working on right now. Something we also filmed in the Himalayas, and actually we filmed it a year after Piano to Zaskar. But it's a very different project, and it's about a Russian composer and mystic, Alexander Scriabin, and a very special concert of his music, which was performed in the Tiksi monastery in Ladakh on the 100th anniversary of his death. And this is an event which we filmed with pianists and an opera singer and light installation and dancing monks, and that's something that I'm working on finishing right now.
This is so refreshing to me. In a world with, I literally see hundreds and hundreds and thousands of films come across my doorstep, because I'm the one processing these to go onto our festival websites. So it's super refreshing just from my perspective to see stories like this. One more question. How many pianos were harmed in the making of this film?
Only one, but not so badly that we couldn't restore it to full functionality afterwards. There's a scene in the film where the piano actually falls down the mountain. Well, the wooden frame of the piano falls down the mountain. It got a bit scratched, but Desmond was incredibly gifted as a sort of piano craftsman, and he managed to restore it to full functionality. So, other than that, no piano casualties.
Great. So I think we'll wrap it up about here. I'm going to give you a few moments to give your, anything you want to say, any final thoughts that you have, and also to plug your communication, social media for people to, keep in touch with you and stay in the loop. But the floor is open for you. Whatever you want to say, let's go for it.
Well, thanks for having us again. Thank you for everyone who tuned in and who watched the film. I really hope you enjoyed it. We have a website called pianotozaskar.com. So if you want to get in touch with us, you'll find our contact details there. And also we have Facebook and Instagram pages, which is just Facebook or Instagram.com/pianotozaskar. So we post regular updates there. If you want to see the film again, or if you want to share the film with some of your friends or family, and you're wondering where it's going to be shown again, you can find all the information there. So that's all, I think. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So great. Thank you for joining us and taking the time to share more details about your work. You see something great, you want to know more about it, and this is how you get those details. It's just great to get deeper into this. So
for having me, Philip. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Everybody, you can watch it on demand in the On Demand Theater until the end of the festival. And please enjoy the rest of Filmocracy Fest. And I hope you all have a great night. See you later, Jarek.
Okay, see you later. Take care.